This isn't just another one of those I quit my job videos, but I did quit my job. I left a comfortable tech job to pursue something more fulfilling, and I'm not sure exactly what that means yet, so for now, I'm unemployed, free, and trying to figure out what's next. I know not everyone gets to step away like this, but I think most people can relate to that feeling of being stuck in a soulless corporate job. So I have no idea where I'll end up, but I'm taking the next 12 months to experiment with new ways to live and work on my own terms. I'm calling it my year of exploration, or as the tech boys like to call it, going on sabbatical. Now, like a true tech think boy, I've always had side projects. Everything from making experimental music, to advising startups, to working on my own little experiments. But for the first time, I'm giving those types of side projects my full attention. The goal is to see if I can build a new life for myself that's more autonomous, creative, and fulfilling. If you've also found yourself thinking more and more about what you want your life to look like and how you're going to get there, I'm hoping you can learn from my experience, especially about what not to do. So for the next 30 days, you can come along with me and see what it's like to be a full-time think boy. Scrolling Twitter. I scroll Twitter more than I'd like to admit, but it's obviously for cultural research, not entertainment. In all seriousness, I do feel like I learn a lot from being on Twitter, but it can also be a pretty nasty place. Everything in moderation, I guess. I wasn't really into social media until the pandemic hit, which I imagine is something a lot of people can relate to. I've met a lot of great people online, but it's obviously not the same as getting together in person. So one of the things I'm hoping to experiment with this year is how to take the best parts of connecting online with getting together in real life. Hosting. So this year I started a project called Living Room, which is part online community and part in-person event series. Everyone is talking about the loneliness crisis, which is why you've got run clubs and startups like Time Left that are trying to find new ways to bring people together. But none of those really felt like a fit for me, so I'm building my own thing. I'm actually a pretty big introvert, so I never thought I'd be hosting events for strangers. I also never thought I'd be posting face on YouTube, but it's 2025 and the world is weird. I read this book, The Art of Gathering, which helped give me some guidance on how to be a better host. There's obviously a lot of fluff in there, but there's some wisdom too. If you're thinking about hosting and don't know where to start, this might help get you moving. Daily Hot Girl Walk. Speaking of moving, let's walk. I'm not brave enough to film myself in public yet, so here are my hokas. It is nice to get out and get some sun. Usually I'm listening to music and I'm very in my head, but bringing a camera along has made me way more aware of my surroundings. Just imagine this is what I look like while I'm striding around my neighborhood. Arena hat. I wear my arena hat when I go out on the streets so people think I'm smart and cool. Nobody has commented or recognized it yet. What is a think boy? For me, a think boy can be both an insult and a term of endearment. I typically think about it in the context of Twitter, where ChatGPT describes it as a particular type of user, typically a male, who often frame themselves as deep thinkers, offering hot takes that are meant to sound profound, but sometimes come off as self-important, performative, or needlessly complex. I have friends, though, that I affectionately refer to as think boys because I genuinely think they're thoughtful and intentional people. That's something I aspire towards as well, but I always worry about doing it performatively or pretentiously, which social media can definitely encourage you to do. ChatGPT. How to become a successful think boy. How to write this email but make it sound like I'm a nice and thoughtful person. Will people think I'm cool, and will people watch my videos? Morning pages. I never read The Artist's Way, but that's where I stole this practice from. I actually swear by these. It's the perfect complement for getting advice from ChatGPT. The idea is to basically start every day with a stream of consciousness brain dump. You're basically just laying all your thoughts out there to get the bad ones out and recognize the good ones. It only takes about 10 minutes a day, but it makes a huge difference in how focused and settled I feel. It has to be one of the highest ROI self-care activities there is. Walking on the tready, parentheses, ADHD. Writing every day helps clear my mind, but movement is just as important. Nothing helps my ADHD like walking on the tready. It keeps my feet busy so my brain can focus. I used to think these were just luxury items for influencers, but you can get one on Amazon for under $300. Definitely one of the best productivity investments I've ever made. That and my Notion subscription, which you can see that I use for basically everything. I've always struggled with focus, organization, and finishing projects, but I only recently realized that might be ADHD. I always thought of ADHD growing up as just those kids that couldn't sit still in the classroom. My partner, who we can call H2, pointed out that I act a lot like her best friend who has struggled with ADHD for years. I lose my phone at least 10 times a day, I can't get anything done in a noisy or busy environment, and I'm constantly juggling at least 12 ideas at once. So maybe I have ADHD, or maybe I just have a careless or chaotic personality. As David Lynch would say, maybe I just like to go dreamy with it. RIP. Either way, I'm experimenting with using movement and structure to stay focused and be more intentional with my time. Intentionality. I've always tried to be intentional, working on things that are important to me, whether or not they're cool or popular. Obviously, I haven't always succeeded. Whether that's meant making experimental music, working on startup ideas that don't have AI in the name, or, making this weird-ass personal vlog. Lately, I've been thinking less about big picture life direction and more how I spend my time day to day. Even though I consider myself to be a pretty hardworking and disciplined person, I still find it way too easy to lose time to endless scrolling or other forms of languishing and avoiding things. As boring as it sounds, the things that productivity gurus tell you to do, like going to bed early and creating consistent routines, have really helped me with that. Morning routine. I guess this is what my phone gets to see every morning when I scroll before I get out of bed. I used to be pretty bad about letting myself bed rot in the morning, but now I try to hold myself to just 10 to 15 minutes. It's a relatively simple way to take back time in your day that is somehow incredibly hard. It's obviously not perfect, but it's an improvement. I'll take it. We're making progress. Push-ups. 97, 98, 99, 100. I absolutely hate working out in the mornings. I'm not a morning person and I never will be. But doing it first thing in the day makes sure I get a decent workout in and don't skip it or rush through it. Shout out Bryan Johnson for the inspo. Bryan Johnson. I think people are too hard on Bryan Johnson. He's obviously an easy target with the Blood Boy headlines and obsessive routines. But if you strip away the noise, I think the core of what he's doing is pretty simple and generally positive. H2 actually got me interested in him, and we've stolen a few of his routines. Unfortunately, I do eat this gray lentil gruel for lunch every day, but it's not as bad as it looks. It's actually pretty good. The whole don't die obsession is a bit extreme, but it reminds me of a quote I can't quite remember from an old interview with Dev Hynes, aka Blood Orange. It was basically that you should just take anything useful you can from problematic people and ignore the rest. Obviously, easier said than done. Luxury. These are the trash cans that I get to work out next to. Luxurious life that I'm leading. In fairness, setting your own schedule and pursuing your own priorities really is the definition of luxury. Bryan Johnson obviously has the ultimate luxury with a personal chef and an LA mansion, but I know I'm lucky to have this time in my life to explore and experiment. Maybe luxury is a mindset, or maybe it's just an empty calendar. Unfortunately, I don't have the means to live like this forever, but I'm trying to make the most of it while it lasts. Scrolling YouTube. Again, this is strictly research, not entertainment. My algorithm is actually so messed up because I'm trying to learn how to make YouTube videos while watching YouTube videos. It's very confused about who I actually am. I guess I am too. OnlyFans. A friend and I were talking recently about how starting a YouTube channel is just one step removed from starting an OnlyFans. And I think that's really true in some cases. Both can really be just about packaging yourself up for consumption. One just happens to involve less clothing. Not this one, sorry. Either way, in an age of mass production and commodification, it can feel like all that's left to sell is yourself. That said, I think if you can avoid the temptation to be brandable, you can find your way into a space for dialogue rather than one-way performance. That's what I'm hoping for here. You can let me know if it's working. Boundaries. It's not the exact same, but I try to think about living room events the same way I approach making videos. That means doing a lot of design work up front to create boundaries that make the experience better for everyone. With videos, this means making 12 drafts of a script and avoiding the temptation to incorporate any sleazy, attention-grabbing tricks on you. For events, that means carefully designing a coherent flow for the night and asking guests to do a little bit of prep work beforehand to get in the right mindset before arriving. Not everyone will like it, and that's kind of the point. I'd rather create a good experience for some people than a mediocre experience for everyone. I never liked rules growing up, but I found that by removing certain questions around how to act, people are actually able to let their guards down and be more themselves. I think a lot of hosts are too scared to impose strict rules or boundaries because they don't want to come off as a jerk or a tyrant, but no one's called me a tyrant yet. People want rules. This is one of my big working theories for 2025. People talk a lot about the loss of community like it's just about missing old institutions. Churches, music venues, and of course the mythical third space. While those are obviously important gathering spaces, I don't think it's just the institutions themselves that we miss. I think we miss the guardrails they provided. People actually want structure more often than we realize. We need to know what's accepted, what's encouraged, and where the boundaries are in order to understand where we actually fit in. Left to our own devices, we spiral into the bad decisions enabled by infinite choice. This is why social media is full of violent videos, soft porn, and other emotionally manipulative content. You shouldn't be able to tweet Nazi shit to a billion people like it's a game. When everything is allowed, the value of a space is diluted for everyone. This is part of why I started Living Room and another project I'm working on called Shelfie. Shelfie is an alternative social media platform designed to slow things down by adding back some friction. Instead of the endless feeds and posts that you'll find elsewhere, on Shelfie you only get a curated mini profile. I think this offers a more thoughtful and realistic way to present yourself. And instead of an open invite, you have to apply to join. The idea isn't to be exclusionary, but to carve out a space where people actually share the same values. What I'm learning through all these experiments is that if you don't define the shape of a space, someone else will do that for you. Can authenticity scale? With projects like Shelfie and Living Room, I'm trying to avoid the temptation to scale and ruin them with a classic startup playbook. But I do think there's room to grow and a lot of people out there that would enjoy these types of experiences. I don't know why everything that grows has to lose its shape, as Elijah was posting recently. For example, people loved Early Be Real when it was just a small group of friends sharing random moments. Then it grew too fast and lost what made it special. Maybe a truly great community can't withstand growth beyond 50 or 100 people. Maybe some things just aren't meant to scale. Or maybe there's a magical formula yet to be uncovered for how to do it effectively. I obviously don't have all the answers, but when it comes to the projects I'm working on right now, I'm thinking a lot about timing. Timing. So back to this whole sabbatical concept. What's it like to do whatever you want? It's invigorating, paralyzing, and exhausting. It's hard to know when you're spending your time on the right things or the wrong things. For example, a few weeks ago, I thought I had a shot at winning this big grant that would have been really exciting. Then I got rejected a few weeks later. That's kind of the pattern of this whole experience so far. Lots of ups and downs. It feels like the potential is limitless, but time, energy, and most importantly, resources are not. I mostly just have myself, some time, and the internet to try to make something happen this year. Of course, I have friends and collaborators and my partner, and they're all great. But at the end of the day, whether or not I can turn this year into something life-changing is really just up to me. A year from now, my life could look totally different. Or I could find myself running out of money and going back to some corporate job. But at least I'd be there with new stories and experiences. Either way, I want to make the most of this unique time I have for the next 12 months and beyond. So for whoever's watching, I hope this helps you think through the life you want to build for yourself too. I obviously have no idea what I'm doing, but at least we're in this together. So if you have any ideas for me or anyone else listening that you think would help, I'm all ears. Who knows what 2025 holds for any of us. Until next time.